How are you? Get to use both hands this time. No longer holding the phone. Thank goodness. Alright. So a lot of things have happened in this NBA offseason. Alright. So there was a trade between the 76ers and the Celtics. Now, the third round pick, there are two first round picks involved. Well, yes. Well, actually three. But the point is this. Celtics get this year's first round pick from the Philadelphia 76ers. It's going to be the number 3, and it's presumably going to be Josh Jackson, and as well as maybe a couple other draft picks from different years. I'm going to have to look more on the deal, but as well as the 76ers, they get the number 1, Markelle Fultz, was expected to be number 1. He's already number 1. So Marco would be playing with Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, and Dario Saric. So that is like the rookie version of a super team. I mean, they're not experienced, but you knew the quality of their talent would probably be better than a lot from even the veterans we see out here. So in terms of drafting, that is one of the best teams to ever draft a team in recent memory, besides Oklahoma City Thunder. I'm saying maybe in the past 5 years as the draft has progressed. OKC, they drafted the greatest team of all time. James Harden, having proven what we know now, 3 MVPs. Westbrook and Harden are technically tied, as far as I'm concerned, for MVP. Kevin Durant's now a champion, MVP. Serge Ibaka was on there. So yeah, OKC drafted well. But it kind of reminds me, though, you can draft so well, but have a team like the Timberwolves, They got Andrew Wiggins, they have Zach LaVine, have Karl Anthony Towns, even a few other people that pretty well green to the NBA, but they were drafted pretty high. So the Timberwolves, they have a lot of hype on them, and with their new coach, Tom Thibodeau, Derrick Rose's old coach. And the thing about getting Derrick Rose too, so the Timberwolves have high expectations, still haven't made the playoffs. So it's like you get all these well-drafted people, but they ended up not accumulating any wins for your team. So that's kind of why the Celtics would probably choose Isaiah Thomas over Markelle Fultz. He hasn't proven anything in terms of what Isaiah's done. Has he dropped 53 points in the playoffs? No. Isaiah's dropped 53 points in the playoffs. So that's why they couldn't keep a point guard like Markelle Fultz. So he's off to the 76ers. Of course. Alright. Well, that's the first part of the trade stuff. Second part is this. Alright. Teams you should look out for. Or the names you should look out for. Alright, we're going to start with the trades, then we're going to go to free agency. So, it's important to remember the difference between this. So, guys like PG, Jimmy Butler, Carmelo Anthony would have to be traded to different teams in order to switch their teams. So, basically, they'll be free agents in years to come. Whereas PG is going to be a free agent next year. Jimmy Butler is going to be a free agent in 2 years. And Carmelo, I think maybe it's two, I believe, somewhere. Point is this: these 3 guys are really begging to be traded. Besides Jimmy, because he has a heart for Chicago. PG has already stated that he wants to go to the LA Lakers in 2018 when he gets to free agency. So the Lakers really don't have to trade for him right now. The Clippers want to trade for him, at least when no one else has traded for him this past week. So they're going to want to get him. They're going to get the assets together, bring all that pick stuff, players in there. And they still have to try to keep Chris Paul and Blake Griffin. Now, these guys are free agents. Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, Gordon Hayward, Those are the big 3, really. but there are way more names. Jeff Teague, one of my favorites. I kind of hope he comes back to the Hawks. I would never say never on that this year, because it's important that they make a good decision on the offseason right now. Really good for my Hawks. But I want to talk about the Celtics and the Cavs. Those are teams you should watch out for in the Eastern Conference, at least. I'm gonna start up simple, but then I'm gonna get more complex. Okay, Celtics have the assets. They have the picks. They trade a lot of the picks, including the ones they just got from the Sixers, and they could probably get Jimmy Butler. Might be able to get Paul George, Carmelo Anthony. But if you look to free agency, Gordon Hayward and Blake Griffin want to be there. And if you look at the Celtics historically, people need to understand this. Celtics have a history of, this idea that a white player should carry the franchise. It's true. A black player can win the championships like Bill Russell. But you always want an extravagant white player. John Havlicek's, the Bob Cousy's, all the white players, including Larry Bird and all that. The white knight type thing they got going on. So, Celtics fans were cheering for Gordon Hayward in that game, and Jay Crowder was pretty offended by that. So he's the guy they probably have to get rid of in order to just... it's not going to be a trade because he's a free agent. Gordon Hayward is the free agent. He could just sign with them. But they need the spot open, so they probably could trade Jay Crowder with a couple picks and get another guy. And I was thinking it'd be Jimmy Butler, because he can play shooting guard, even though this season, because Dwayne Wade joined the Bulls, as a shooting guard, he played small forward. And, Paul George is a small forward, Gordon Hayward's a small forward. Alright, LeBron James is a small forward, but we'll talk about that later. And he's a power forward. He's really a lot of things. Magic was once a point guard and a center, but the point is positions don't mean too much in the NBA. But if you can play shooting guard, you can kind of play small forward. If you're a good two-way player, it's the point. So two-way players like Gordon Hayward, Paul George, and Jimmy Butler are really ranking in this offseason as the top guys, that are on the market. That's what you can get to counteract Kevin Durant, on the Warriors side. And we're also talking about, what acquiring Carmelo Anthony would mean, because he can play power forward and small forward. But the point is, you're getting Carmelo, you just want offense. So this is going to be very important we want to talk about with the Cavs, because the Cavs want to really change their dynamic here. But it's really, I've seen some videos, their offensive scheme that's really taking them down. Not a free agent, not a superstar will carry them to the top, but their offensive scheme needs to change, as well as their defense needs to improve. They need to get players like P.J. Tucker, defensive scrappers like Tony Allen. Like, these guys will shut down the stars, bro. They will shut down Stephen Curry and Kevin Durant. They need these two people, or three people, or Cephalosha, all these guys. Look, I don't like the Cavs. I kind of really hate them. But they have to get better in order to be the Warriors. Someone needs to get really good in order to be the Warriors. They need to draft well. They need to get good superstars in the offseason, good stars. Good people just play hard and play well, not just for the money. Now, we talked about PG. Now, I'm going back to PG because for the Celtics, it's a matter of, can we do this? You have to beat the Cavs. You also have to beat the Warriors. You get the Isaiah Thomas, the Al Horford, and all that. But you also need rebounding. I'm saying they need to get Andre Drummond. They need to get, a guy who can really change things. I heard some rumors about Anthony Davis coming to the Celtics, all that. But, it's probably going to be impossible. I mean, DeMarcus Cousins and Anthony Davis are going to be there. And they get, one great point guard, one good point guard, they're going to make the playoffs from the beginning of the season to the end of the 82-game season. I mean, both these guys can drop 50. Speaking of 50, again, bouncing back and forth between points, Paul George, Gordon Hayward, Carmelo Anthony, Jimmy Butler. Those four guys are very, very important to getting what's done between the Cavs and the Celtics. Now, the reason why, any team will want Jimmy Butler over all of the other names I just named, Carmelo Anthony, Gordon Hayward, and Paul George, is because none of them have as many 50-point games as Jimmy Butler did. last season. I believe, well, he had one 50-point game, but maybe a lot of 40-point games. I'm saying combined. Like, I'm not saying he scored more the whole season or even more consistently, but he's dominated games even a little bit more effectively than Paul George. Even though Paul George can take over the fourth quarter like no other one of these names, as I've mentioned. But Jimmy Butler is clutchier. I mean, he has that clutch gene a little bit more than Paul George. And he's a little bit mentally tough. Like, I think in a video with Skip Bayless, he was talking about this. But I was thinking this before because of all the things we've seen Jimmy Butler do. He can carry a team. And, you know, he doesn't worry about really the facets of what all this means, you know. Or, oh, my team's this, my team's that. Jimmy Butler doesn't worry about any of that stuff. He just plays, and that's what we love about him. So that's why, you know, out of all the things, all the players the Cavs can go after, they need to go after Jimmy Butler. Not Paul George, not Carmelo Anthony, who's not that good of a two-way player, mostly for scoring, because you treated Love in a way that it's kind of devalued his playing. But again, your style is what's affecting, you know, Kevin Love's playing, because he's sitting there in the corner. He's not even in range to get a rebound. I mean, some offensive rebounds, you know, are very important in the game. He can get those too. He can go inside out. He can post up. He can do all that stuff. But you don't try that. You just try shooting threes. So the Cavs, a little bit messed up with this. If they're able to keep Kevin Love and trade for Jimmy Butler, and they get all these guys, they keep even J.R. Smith, and they got Kyle Korver on there, and they got Kyrie, and they got LeBron James, that is actually good enough to counter the Warriors. I don't want these guys to form super teams like this. I hate super teams now. I really do. I want the Hawks to really be great. I want them to win a championship. But I know that with these Warriors like this, they will continue to dominate the NBA in ways we have not seen before. Maybe with the Lakers, we've seen that because they were one of the biggest super teams of all time. But this guy right here, Kevin Durant, has set something in motion that I think we're on a collision course. It's obvious that they want to get Jimmy Butler, that they want to get the Paul George, the Carmelo Anthony. It's a combination of these guys. Even the Celtics want to do that. They want to form a super team. Washington, I don't know. Maybe they can get DeMarcus Cousins if they end up trading Anthony Davis to the Celtics, and then all these teams are just upgrading, and maybe the Hornets get maybe, I don't know, somebody. But Hawks will get better. They will win the championship. I believe that even if we don't get a big-time superstar, if we re-sign Tim Hardaway Jr., I promise you, Paul Millsap comes back. You know, if maybe we get Danilo Gallinari or something. Look, Danilo Gallinari is super underrated. Any team that gets him might become extremely good because Danilo Gallinari is that good. I've seen him. I've seen his career highs. I've seen his peak. It's tremendous. You don't know. He's underrated. They nearly made the playoffs, Denver. So I envy them. But I'll make another video probably sometime other this week. Probably after or during the draft. Probably after the draft. Maybe the same day as or the day after the draft. About what went down. Because there's going to be a lot of trades going down. A lot of drafts going down. A lot of teams getting better. A lot of teams maybe getting worse. So we're going to see what's like the Pacers. I don't know. But we're going to see what's going to happen, okay? Talk to you later. Peace. And Dwayne Wade might go to the Cavs. You know, Jimmy Butler and Dwayne Wade might go to the Cavs. This whole big thing. I don't know. But stay tuned for this NBA stuff because even though the season is over, this big news stuff is still happening. So stay tuned.